Back when I was in college, I had a job at a supermarket store. This store was open 24 hours, which meant some people had to work really late shifts. I didn't think they'd put me on those shifts because I was in college and only 20 years old. But my boss, after finding out my school schedule and finding out I had Mondays and Wednesdays off, decided to put me on the overnight shift a few times. The first time it happened, I saw my schedule and noticed I was supposed to work from midnight to 8 a.m. on a Tuesday night. I couldn't believe it and had to check the schedule a few times to be sure. It made me feel really sick. When I asked my supervisor why I was scheduled for the overnight shift, he told me that since I was over 18, well, I didn't have much of a choice. I thought about quitting, but I needed the money. So I decided to tough it out this one time and then tell my boss I couldn't do it again because of my schoolwork. So I showed up at the store at midnight, taking over from my co-worker, Amanda. The store had some lights off to save electricity, but I was surprised to see there were more customers than I expected doing late-night shopping. As time passed, the number of customers dwindled. By 2 a.m., there were hardly anyone left in the store, and I was incredibly bored. I started to wonder if there were other employees around. I noticed an older, bald guy who looked like a manager passing by the front registers every so often. He had keys and a small backpack with him. I asked him if he was the manager, and he came over, shaking my hand. He asked if it was my first shift, and I explained it was my first overnight shift. He started doing something with the entrance door that looked like he was locking it, which puzzled me because we were meant to be open. Then he told me to go organize some pallets in the back warehouse while he watched the front. I didn't really understand, but I went to the back anyway. Then, just as I was about to leave, all the lights in the store suddenly turned off. The man told me to wait in the warehouse while he checked what was happening. While sitting in the warehouse, I heard a door opening from inside. I strained my ears and heard slow footsteps and a voice asking if I was there. It was the bald guy's voice, but I was confused because he was supposed to be at the front. I left the warehouse section quietly looking for Rob, the head manager who was on shift that night. I couldn't find him, so I tried to leave, but the exit door was locked. When Rob finally appeared, he unlocked the door and told me to get outside quickly. He called the police, saying there might be an armed person inside trying to rob the store. I told him about the bald guy, who he confirmed wasn't a manager or anyone working there. I told him I thought the guy was coming to harm me, which he passed on to the police. He advised me to wait in my car or leave for safety, so I went to my car and watched as the police arrived and went inside. I waited for a while, but since I couldn't see what was happening, I eventually left. Later on, my supervisor told me what had happened. The security footage showed the bald man acting suspiciously, turning off the lights and going to the warehouse. He left through an emergency exit before the police arrived. I didn't quit my job after that, but I talked to my boss and never had to work an overnight shift again. I ended up staying at the job for a few months more. I'm not sure if they ever caught the man who caused all the trouble. I'm a mum of 3, so our grocery bills are pretty high. My husband works at a tech company and I'm at home taking care of our kids who are 10, 7 and 3 years old. I usually go food shopping twice a week. There's a King Cullen and a nearby Target I go to. We live in a quiet town and I'm 40 years old. This happened less than a year ago when I was 39. One day I went shopping later than usual because I was behind schedule. The King Cullen closes at 10 and it was already past 9 when I hurried there with my flyers and coupons. The kids were complaining about not having any food in their house, so I had to do a quick grocery run. Normally I'd have my 3-year-old daughter, Haley, with me, but since my husband was home from work at this time, I got to shop alone, which felt like a luxury. The King Cullen was almost empty at this time, close to closing. I grabbed a cart and started dashing through the aisles, getting the things on my list and any items that were on sale. I was in the cereal aisle when someone tapped on my shoulder. It was a tan man about my height wearing a baseball cap, a black OT, red hoodie, and jeans. He apologized for startling me and said he was looking for a specific bag of chips that I'd had in my cart. I told him which aisle they were on, and he said he'd looked there but couldn't see them, so I showed him exactly where they were. He thanked me, and I remember he had awful breath. Then he started talking about those chips, like their ingredients and stuff. I tried to politely signal that I needed to get back to my cart, but he kept talking. Then he paused and said I was pretty, and I thanked him before trying to get back to shopping. I went back to my cart, but he followed and kept talking. I told him I wanted to shop in peace, and finally he got the hint and left. But I saw him watching me as he walked past the aisles. Feeling uncomfortable, I sped up my shopping. I was running out of time anyway. And when I was done, I went to the checkout, and guess who showed up behind me? The guy in the red hoodie. He didn't say anything this time, but I felt his gaze on me. After checking out, I loaded my car and noticed him sitting in his old Honda in the parking lot, again looking at me. I loaded up the car with the shopping and got in and drove home. As I left, I looked in my rearview mirror and didn't see him, so I thought I was safe. When I got home, I noticed a car with no headlights on driving slowly down the street. I told my husband about what had happened, and he went outside with a baseball bat. He spotted someone near our side gate, and they ran off when they saw him. He said it was the same guy who fitted my description from the store driving that old Honda. We called the police, and they came quickly. I described the man in his car to them, and thankfully he never returned after my husband chased him away, and I never saw him at the store again. Still, it's unsettling knowing that this creep knows where we live. I used to work at a big supermarket chain in a rural town. My job was to restock shelves and organize things during the night shift from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. after the store closed. There were always one of two people on the night shift with me, either Terry or Alfonso. On this particular night, I was supposed to be working with Terry. I went to the store and used my keys to open up. I started like I always did by bringing boxes to the shelves using a pallet jack. First, I worked on the bread and nuts aisle, making sure to put the fresher loaves in the back. As time passed, I realized Terry hadn't shown up yet. It wasn't like him to be late. I looked around the back area, but he wasn't there either. Then I saw that the back door was shut and the door stopper was outside, which was odd. I called Terry on the phone and he told me he was sick and not coming in. This made me uneasy, especially because the door stopper looked like it had been deliberately moved. I went back to work for a bit when I heard a loud noise from across the store. I thought someone must be there, so I walked down an aisle and saw a man dressed in all black in the dairy aisle. He saw me and walked away. I tried to talk to him, but he didn't respond. He kept moving and disappearing, giving me a weird feeling. I left the building and called my boss and then the police. I stayed in my car until the police arrived. We found the man still inside the store, standing in an aisle. He was odd, with a strange smile, licking his lips, and he had huge bags under his eyes. He said he was just looking for a snack. The police took him away, but his unsettling smile has stayed with me. After that, I kept the doors closed and continued my work, making sure to do my best to stay safe and vigilant.